You can turn off your camera if you need to. We're going to Moodle. I'm going to share my screen with you so we can look at the same thing together. There are two things that you need to download for today. The first is the PDF of the article we're going to be reading, which is the first thing linked on here. We're going to be reading an article called Ads May Spur Unhappy Kids to Embrace Materialism. It's a very short article. I want to say it's maybe like 3 pages or like 2.5 pages. And then you have some comprehension and analysis questions that you need to download. So you can download those second on here. We are going to complete the comprehension questions together. And then you will be able to begin the analysis questions on your own. You probably won't be able to finish in class, but you will be very close to finishing. That's how kind of my previous classes have been saying they've been very close to finishing. Just a reminder for both of these sections, comprehension and analysis, you do have to write in complete sentences and have your citations. And there is a submission already open for you guys in the homework submissions tab that you can submit them when you're done, okay? So go ahead and take a moment to download these two things. Please send me a chat when you have them downloaded. I'll give you like 1.5 minutes or so to get that done before we actually start reading. I'm talking about this article. Thank you, Jessica and Connor. You guys are on it so quick. Aaron, let me know when you have yours downloaded, okay?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Tay and Lamb, Pranati, Jordan, Toby, Alicia, and Randy. You guys are all awesome. Maddie, thank you. John, thank you. Thank you, Sophia and Giselle, Matt, Savannah, and Armand. Give you guys another like 20 seconds to get it downloaded, and then we're gonna get into this. Thank you, Ronik. Again, you're sending me a chat when you have these two documents downloaded. Thank you, Janelle. All right, let's get going. So I'm going to share now the article itself on here. So let's look at this together. You'll see when you open it up, like a blue background with this like old school TV on it. It says Ads May Spur Unhappy Kids to Embrace Materialism in bold white color, and then her name underneath that, Amy Norton. Okay, so a few things here. I'm just going to kind of talk about a few different things when reading this article, so just bear with me. So first thing first, it is a news article. It actually tells us that in the upper right-hand corner, you see it says news article. Anything you read in a newspaper, magazine, online journal, blog even, like those are going to be all considered articles, okay? So just be aware. How would we go about if we were typing this, and I told you guys this yesterday, how would we go about writing this title in MLA format if we were including it in a paragraph? How would we type it up? Can anyone remember what would MLA format look like for an article?
Would we refer as like an article and put it in quotation marks?
Perfect, Toby. Yes, you of course want to mention the genre of text that you're talking about. So always say that it is an article, and then put it in quotation marks, okay? So that is the first thing that you would do when you're writing out this text to make sure that you are writing it properly, okay? The author's name is right here underneath the title, Amy Norton. It also gives us a little blurb about who this author is. I love that this article did this. A lot of articles will leave this out. Sometimes they will give you a little information about how long they've been working for that publisher or how long they've been working for that magazine or newspaper, which is helpful. But what I really love about this information, I'll read it to you guys. It tells us the types of things that she's used to writing and what she writes about, which is really helpful for the purpose of this article because that adds to her credibility as an author on this topic, okay, or a reporter on this topic. So it says in here, Amy Norton has been a journalist in the medical field since 1999, so a very long time. She has worked as both a staff writer and an editor for Physicians Weekly, Medical Tribune, and Reuters Health. Norton has also written articles on health and medicine for MSNBC, Prevention, The Atlantic, and the online publication Health Day. Many of her articles focus on children's health issues. So, for multiple reasons, this person, Amy Norton, does have the authority to write about this and write about it in a manner that we can actually understand. So many of these things like MSNBC and The Atlantic are not actually intended for sciencey based people or doctors or physicians to be reading. It's actually intended for people like us to be reading. So we can assume the fact that she's used to talking about this type of stuff because she's been a journalist in the medical field for a long time, as it tells us, it lets us know that she'll be able to convey this information in a manner that we can easily understand. So she's not going to be using a bunch of crazy medical terms. She's not going to be throwing in all sorts of numbers and crazy percentages and all that stuff, but rather just conveying it in a very easy to digest way, okay? Another thing that makes this author super reliable for this is that when we're looking at the title, it does talk about the happiness or unhappiness of children and the idea of materialism. Now, many of her articles focus on children's health issues. So this is something that she also is probably relatively used to writing about, at least dealing with children and the statistics and how to talk about it and convey the information. So again, for a variety of reasons, this is a good, reliable author for what this article is actually focused on, okay? From there, she does give some background of materialism, and I'm not really going to read through this because we've talked about materialism and what that term means and what that looks like. But what I do want to draw your attention to is when this study was completed that she's going to focus her article on. It happened in 2010. Okay, so we are now in 2021. So that's about 11 years ago, okay? Depending on when it was written in 2010, it could be a little less than that. But that means that this information technically, if you were to write a paper, say you were doing a research assignment and you wanted to use this article as evidence for what you're talking about, this would be considered technically, because of how long ago it was, irrelevant information, okay? Especially when we talk, once we actually read it, you'll be able to see why it's really irrelevant now. But I think even with the research being a bit outdated, the concept that she's talking about is very much so relevant. We would just want more updated research to support that idea, okay? The information concept is good and definitely still relatable and relevant to today. Just the year in which research was done is a little outdated, okay? So we're gonna jump in and start reading. I will be calling on a few of you guys to read certain paragraphs, so please be prepared to be called on. As you notice, in the left-hand side of every paragraph, there are little numbers. So you just follow along with that. Please make sure you are actually listening and following along. Don't read on your own, because if I call on you and you don't know what paragraph you're on, it's a little frustrating. I will, of course, tell you, regardless of how frustrated I may be, I'll tell you what paragraph we're on, but please try to keep up and follow along, okay? So I'll read the first few paragraphs and then I'll start calling on people once we get onto page 2. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you're on Zoom and your emoji. Aaron, just kind of, acknowledge me when you're ready to start reading. Like you've got the article in front of you, you're good to go. Thank you guys. Once again, you guys are always on top of it. I appreciate you all so much. Okay, let's get started. Unhappy kids who watch a lot of TV ads may come to believe that material possessions are the key to feeling better. New research hits. A number of studies in adults have suggested that unhappiness and materialism can create a vicious circle. People who are dissatisfied with their lives may think material possessions will make them happy, and when that fails, they become even more discontent. Okay, quick connection to other texts that we've read. Does that sound like things we've read in this class for this unit? If we're thinking about like the necklace and avarice, does that message or that research support what we've read in that literature? Does it? People who are dissatisfied with their lives may think material possessions will make them happy, and when that fails, they become even more discontent. Is that supported by the literature we've read so far?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Connor. Okay, so we have read that very thing. That means we could definitely say that the information we've read in literature, an actual fictional text, so made up stories, is very much so applicable to the real world based off of research that's been done, okay? Making those themes we've talked about for materialism and greed even more so relevant to our lives, okay? So continuing on, since we're living in a material world, there is concern about what that mindset could mean for kids' life satisfaction. In the new study, researchers found that unlike adults, materialistic 8 to 11-year-olds did not become less happy over time. Okay, so basically they're saying in the age group of 8 to 11, they found a bunch of kids to do research on, and I'll go on to explain this, but they found some kids, they took some surveys for them, and they found, based off of that, and they'll explain it, that these kids, even if they were materialistic, it did not necessarily mean that they were less happy later in life, at least from when they did their second survey, okay? So let's see what that means, okay? Now, on the other hand, unhappy kids did become more consumed by material possession, but only if they watched a lot of TV. Okay, so now they're telling us that them watching this TV, if the kid was already kind of innately unhappy, okay, for whatever reason, they were not a content child. If they watched a lot of TV, they did become more materialistic. So if the kid was not unhappy, so they were a happy kid, and they were already kind of focused on material items, they did not become more materialistic, okay? But if they were unhappy, they did seem to become more materialistic, okay? So that's interesting. Bringing in the idea of, and I'm sure you guys have heard about this, like in science type classes, like the nature versus nurture argument, where they talk about, okay, how we're brought up or the things we personally experience are what dictate how we're going to turn out, or are we born this way? So is a person born materialistic and it's just like innate to them, or are they turned into a materialistic person based off of what they experience? So that's kind of addressing that question as well. So I'm going to start calling on people. Be prepared after this paragraph. And I'm on paragraph 6. The findings, which appear in the journal Pediatrics, point to links among unhappiness, TV, and materialism, though they cannot prove that TV is the villain. Okay, let's hear from Randy. Randy, can you read paragraph 7?
The results do suggest, however, that the ads might teach children that possessions are a way to increase happiness. Study leader Susanna J. Opry, a research associate at the University of Amsterdam in the Netherlands, said in an email.
Let's have John. John, can you read paragraph 8?
Yeah, sure. To help guard against that possibility, she suggested that parents help kids adopt a healthy skepticism towards consumer ads.
Okay. The findings are based on 466 Dutch children between the ages of 8 and 11 who took an online survey 2 times, 1 year apart. On both occasions, the kids answered questions about life satisfaction, how happy they were at home, at school, in their relationships, and with themselves. They also rated the importance of material possessions in their life and the degree to which they thought those things could bring happiness or win them friends. All right, let's have critique. Critique, can you read the next paragraph, paragraph 11?
Overall, Opre's team found no evidence that materialistic kids became less happy by the second survey.
Wonderful. Erin, can you read paragraph 12?
However, kids who were relatively unhappy in the first survey tended to become more materialistic over the next year, but only if they regularly watched TV shows popular with preteen crowd.
Very good. The study points only to general patterns, and there are limitations. The researchers used kids' TV viewing as a proxy for their exposure to ads, for example. So in this paragraph, and after she's run through kind of like what the study was, what the kids were asked about, how they were asked about these things, now she is acknowledging that this study does have its limitations and that really the results were kind of like inconclusive. More research was needing to be done here, but she's still reporting on it, okay? That's definitely something she is acknowledging, like, hey, this is interesting, but we need more. All right, let's have, let's see, Jessica, could you read the next paragraph for us? We're on paragraph 14.
And in the big picture, according to Opry, TV ads would be just one factor that could affect a child's level of materialism. The same is true of life dissatisfaction, she said.
Very good. So something to think about. In 2010, TV really was the place in which teens and younger were getting their information from or their advertisements from. Where do you guys today see ads or advertisements?
My phone.
Your phone? Okay, on what sorts of things, Toby? Can you give an example? Like, how do you see that?
Kind of like before YouTube videos or like banner ads. And stuff.
Very good. So YouTube, if you're somebody who watches YouTube videos, you definitely get ads. What other sorts of social media provides ads that you guys would encounter?
Snapchat and Instagram.
Great taste. Snapchat and Instagram. If you guys use Facebook, I don't know if that's a thing for you guys, but that's definitely one way you can get that. So lots of different outlets today in 2021 that ads are being conveyed other than TV, okay? So it is interesting when they even say TV ads would be just one factor that could affect a child's love of materialism. It would be interesting to see what would that look like today. Would it be mainly social media, or would that just be kind of one of them? There's still other ways that are affected there. So I'm going to continue on with paragraph 15. Children's social environment, that is family and peers, plays an important role, Opry said. Values held by family members and peers are more likely to be adopted by the child. No studies have been done to show whether parents' values win out over TV ads when it comes to kids' materialism, but Opry said what we know is that parents can counteract advertising influence. Parents can help, she noted, by teaching kids to view ads with a critical eye and to be skeptical of images that imply a product can make life better. Encouraging kids to see other sources of happiness like love, friendship, and play might also help, according to Opry's team. Let's, after the next paragraph, Armand, can you read that for us, 19?
Yeah. And why should parents worry about keeping kids off the path towards materialism?
Good. Let's have Matt, can you read paragraph 20?
It's true that in this study, kids' materialism did not seem to lead to unhappiness, Opry noted, but that was only the short-term outlook, she said.
Very good. Previous studies conducted among adults suggest that it is very likely that children's materialism will lead to decreased life satisfaction later in life, Opry said. Let's have Savannah, can you read paragraph 22?
Yes. Sorry, my sister's calling
That's
me.
okay.
Okay, whether or not TV ads do affect some kids' materialism, experts already recommend that parents limit children's TV viewing and help them become savvy about advertising in general.
Good. The American Academy of Pediatrics suggests that kids get no more than 2 hours of non-educational screen time, TV and computers each day. The group also advises parents to keep TVs and computers out of their kids' bedrooms. All right, so that is our article. Now, what's interesting here, again, and I'm going to ask you guys to see if you picked up on this. Does it seem like this author, Amy Norton, is giving her own opinion on this research? Does it seem like she's giving her own opinion? I'm gonna call on someone. Jeremy, does it seem like she's giving her own opinion?
Yes,
Okay.
because you see these clues like Oprah noted, Oprah said. It's all excerpts from what she's saying, so it's her opinion.
Is Oprah the author?
No, it's not.
Okay, so that's the research that she's quoting, correct?
Yeah, but it seems like she's taking a lot of her research from this one person.
Okay, that's really good. That's a good thing to say. Yes. So she is commenting on just one particular research study that was done. That does create a little bit of bias, right? Now, if you were to be using this and you went and found another research study that was kind of showing the same idea, written by a whole other author, then you could start saying like, okay, like she's just reporting on this one thing, but it is something that's said by a lot of people. So then you could determine like this isn't her own opinion. But until we saw that, we really couldn't determine it. Let's say that there are other articles that do say the same thing, other research studies that kind of show similar ideas. And she just chose to talk about this one. Does it seem like she's pushing like what we should or shouldn't do on us, or is she simply telling us what research says? What do you guys think?
Telling us what research said.
Yes. So in this, she does a really good job at continuing to say who said this, whether that was researchers, whether that was this Oprah person, or doctors. I would say I would love for her to have more names in this, more people's, different people's ideas, like Jeremy was saying, especially when she talks about at the end, like, where is it? Experts already recommend that parents limit TV viewing. She only lists like one institution that suggests that. So it'd be interesting to hear if like multiple were suggesting that, or is it just this one place that's suggesting that? So things like that. The more people that an article references, the less biased it becomes, coupled with the right phrasing of things as well. Okay, so if they're ever saying like you should do this, you shouldn't do that, and they do give research to support it, that is a little bit like their opinion as well attached to it. But so it's interesting to be very careful when you're reading these articles as well, because you could be reading something that is very much so written to persuade you and not to just inform you. Okay, this one's more on the side of information, but as Jeremy also said, it could definitely be to kind of persuade you to view it in a certain way too. Okay, now let's get into the comprehension questions. We're going to do these together. So if you go to the other handout that you, oops, let me exit out of this one because it has answers on it. If you go to the other handout that I had you download, you will find the comprehension questions at the very top. So we're going to work through these together. There's technically 5 questions. We're going to do the first 4 together, and then the rest will be for you to do on your own. The last one is a summary, so you'll write your summary on your own. Okay, question number 1. Let's see, according to a number of studies, what 2 things can create a vicious circle? So look for that term, vicious circle, in your article. I'll give you a hint. It falls on the first page. And let's answer this question. When somebody has it, just shout it out. What 2 things can create a vicious circle?
Unhappiness and materialism.
Very good, Tay and Giselle. Very good. Okay. So according to studies, unhappiness and materialism can create a vicious circle. And I'll ask Giselle, what paragraph did you find that in?
Second paragraph.
Second Paragraph, very good. Paragraph 2. Oops, that's 1, 2. So we include our citation here. Very good. If you didn't have that, go ahead and write it. All right, the next question. In the study by the University of Amsterdam in the Netherlands, so look for this kind of key idea in there. What tended to cause children who were relatively unhappy to begin with in the first survey to become more materialistic? What was the cause of that increased materialism? When you have it, just shout it on out.
Is it ads?
What was that?
Ads?
So, yes, well, ads, but where are these ads being shown, Randy?
On TV.
Very good. Okay, so ads on TV. So children who were already unhappy became more materialistic if they watched TV. And what paragraph did you find that in, Randy?
Paragraph 7.
Paragraph 5. Very good. So if you don't have that, go ahead and add it. All right, moving on to number 3. Now, what does the article maintain parents should teach their children in order to guard against unhealthy materialism? What should parents do to help their students or children not become materialistic? So when you think you have it, just shout it out. I'll give you guys a hint. It's said twice on page 2. One at the beginning of page 2 in those first however many paragraphs, and one in the last few paragraphs of page 2. What should parents do?
Teaching kids to view ads with a critical eye.
Very good. Should teach their children to view ads with a critical eye. And what paragraph did you find that in?
Paragraph 18.
Paragraph 18. It also says it, guys, in paragraph 8, that parents should help kids adopt a healthy skepticism towards consumer ads. And then we have number 4. This one should be pretty simple. How many hours of TV and computer time each day does the American Academy of Pediatrics, so search for that name, and find out how many hours should kids be watching TV or be on their screens.
2 hours.
2 hours. Very good. So the American Academy of Pediatrics suggests that children should not be on their screens for more than 2 hours a day. Now, let's take a poll in this class. All right. This was in paragraph 23. Now, if you, let's exclude schoolwork, obviously, because you spend all day on your iPad now because of school. So excluding school and homework, give me a thumbs up if you spend less than 2 hours on your phone, playing video games, on a computer, iPad, anything, TV, you spend less than 2 hours. All right. If you spend less than 4 hours, give me a thumbs up. Okay, Kriti and Matt. Janelle, Savannah, less than 4 hours. Lamb, Jessica. You guys know you can check on your phones too. It does tell you. If you have an iPhone at least, you can check your screen time. All right, give me a thumbs up if you spend less than 6 hours doing some of those things. Okay, some more of you guys. Okay, less than 8 hours. Okay, so obviously in today's world, 21st century, 2021, internet, social media, phones, Netflix, video games are so much more easily accessible than they were in 2010. And it's being pushed on us. We also live in the Bay Area, which is the home of tech, right? So we are very much so probably using our devices a heck of a lot more than many other people across the world. So if not just like across the United States, I would even take a gamble to say Californians probably use their devices a lot more than many. But that being said, it's interesting how even so, this research, 2010 to 2021, although it is outdated, I think we could probably say this information is probably still true. We just need new research to support that idea. So let's get into the analysis questions. You do have to write a summary. I'm looking for somewhere between 2 to 3 sentences, not very long. Please include the title, author, and type of text within this summary, okay? So that way you practice using all of those things. And then now is your time to work. So you guys have 10 minutes to kind of do summary, get started on your analysis questions, and then the rest is homework, okay? Let me know if you guys have questions as you're working. I will be here, you will be here, so let me know.